We had to stop the music this morning and have a conversation because obviously there's an elephant in the room,
Right.
and it is that over the weekend some things went viral online, and I guess people expect us always to be transparent,
Absolutely.
about things that happen to us,
Absolutely.
and to talk about it. So I think it's time that we, Wanda and I, got together and decided it's time that we talk about it.
Right.
So, Wanda, I want you to lead this conversation because
Okay.
I truly want you to give your words,
Right.
and how you feel, how everything happened, both Friday and throughout the weekend, leading us to this point now. In case you don't know, I'll rewind and recap everybody that doesn't know.
Okay.
On Friday, we had an interview with comedian Red Grant. And up until Friday morning, that was the plan. Comedian Red Grant would come in
Right.
and do an interview promoting his appearance at the Atlanta Comedy Theater with Wanda over the weekend, but with Wanda specifically on Saturday. Right before Red Grant came into our studio, we got the call that Cat Williams was coming with him.
Right.
Cat Williams was not supposed to be interviewed.
Right.
He didn't come for the interview. The interview was with Red Grant. But Wanda and I wanted to try to get Cat Williams to come on the air so that everybody knows he was very reluctant at first to
Right.
come on the air.
Right.
Wanda had gone out to talk to him first to invite him on the air. He was like, no, I'm not going to come on the air. I tried to get him to at least come inside the studio. Cat Williams didn't want to come in the studio. But eventually he kind of relaxed, warmed up, and after some coaxing, he came in the studio and sat down.
Right.
During the conversation, I was able to direct a question to Cat Williams, which he answered. His answers started what became viral, and him talking about the comedy industry, how you get a deal, how you do stand-up, and his entrepreneuric spirit about doing comedy. And he really talked some really good information about him owning all of his rights to all of his stand-up,
Right, right.
and how he is the most successful stand-up comedian. He has more stand-up comedy specials than anybody else. And he began to talk about that. And when I say stand-up comedy specials, I mean the specials that are filmed and later become available on video or on TV.
Right.
It was then that he started getting loose, and we had some offline, off-the-air conversations with Cat, and he decided to stay for the second part. And he started getting relaxed, and some of that conversation went left. So we want to really start I guess, Wanda, in the beginning, when Cat began to talk negatively about people such as Tiffany Haddish and Kevin Hart. That piece really was the first thing that went viral. Right now, on our YouTube page, it has 1.7 million views. 1.7 million. That's just on our page. I saw other blog sites that were 2 and 3 million views.
Right.
So collectively, this thing is pushing around 10 million, if not more, views. In the beginning, that's what happened.
Right.
You can pick it up.
Okay, so to be honest with you, when I found out Cat Williams was coming, I got excited. Okay, I know many people think, well, you know who Cat Williams is. Cat Williams and I have never officially really met. Like, we don't know each other, like, as in friend, comics. We've never worked on a tour together. We've never worked together. So this was really a big deal for me to have him come in. So when they told me he was in the green room, you said to me, Wanda, go in the back and see if you can get him to come on, because he had told our producers that he wasn't going to come on. So I went to the back in the green room, and I was like, hey, everybody, which I always do. And I said, good morning. And then he goes, I'm not coming on the show. I wasn't booked to come on the show. And I said, it's okay if you want to come on. Like, come on. So I was teasing with him about coming on. And so then, he kept saying no. I said, but why? I said, come on. I've never been on air with you. I say, so come on. Here's a great opportunity. So Red Grant, myself, and Gary started to walk towards the studio. And when we got in here, he still was saying no. He was outside the studio. So I started playing little clips like, come on in, come on in, making him feel good about coming in. I'm excited that he's coming in. So, once he got in, I was excited to really have him in this studio, to be honest with you. And I felt like as he started to talk in the beginning, he had an agenda, like to attack me. And I kept feeling some type of way. And I'm like,
did you feel the tension in the room before he even started talking?
I felt the tension. I did. And then I said, okay, where's this going? So honestly, because of the respect that I have for him, like I felt like he's one of the comics that has made it. And so I'm excited. I called my boss and said, Reggie, I never asked Reggie to drop music. I said, Cat Williams is coming. Can we drop music? And Reggie said, yes. He said, yes. We were going to drop music to give him that much time to just have fun with him. So we dropped the music, and I just felt the tension. Like, every time I would ask him something or say something, it was like he kind of came for me. And I'm not that kind of comedian. Like, I don't go tit for tat. I don't, that's not what I do. Nick Cannon asked me to go to Wild 'N Out. I'm like, dude, that's not my thing. I mean, so just because of the respect that I have for him, when he started coming at me, it kind of threw me off. So I didn't know how to retaliate or how to come back because that's not how I wanted to talk to him. I didn't want to talk to him like that. I didn't want to go back and forth with him because of the respect. So when it kept going on and on and on, as a person that has integrity, I had to say something back. And I didn't want to because my focus, Frank, in Atlanta was because God had just blessed me with this folder right here to go to the Nicholas house when I got off air, was to go help these homeless women. So my mind wasn't on being disrespectful and in a bad place. I just wasn't in a bad place. So I did not want to go back and forth with Cat Williams like that. That bothered me so bad. That really bothered me. So that's why I never said, people was like, why you didn't go back? Because I know my mouth. I could have said some really ugly, foul things, but I didn't want to talk to him like that. I did not. It was a respect thing. So, I've done a lot of things in my life. I'm not perfect. A mistake spread it so fast. I help people here in Atlanta all the time, from helping the homeless people to helping kids get school clothes, to helping single moms get things for their kids, keeping kids in school. And none of that stuff ever went viral. The minute me and a brother get into something, it's huge. Mm-hmm. That was so hurtful.
The People Station, V103, the ATL's #1 for hip-hop and R&B. Frank and Wanda in the morning on V103. Wanda Smith giving comment about what happened Friday with Cat Williams. Let's take just a few calls. Frank and Wanda in the morning on the People Station, V103. Hello.
I just wanted to make a comment to Wanda. Sweetheart, you should not feel bad because I'm sure Cat Williams pissed me off and everybody else. He came up there. It just seemed like he came up there to attack you. He didn't say anything to Red. He didn't say anything to Frank. And personally, I thought it was distasteful. I thought it was very disrespectful. You have absolutely no reason to feel bad because everybody sees him in the news, and we already know he's an idiot. And having money don't make you smart. So you should not feel bad because he was just wrong all the way. You did nothing to him, and clearly he was just there, and he was upset. He kept saying, Wanda, what do you cook? Wanda, what do you do? He didn't ask Frank, who is a man. They were saying because he has kids and he's a single father, they're asking him what he cooks, but he didn't ask anyone else. He just asked you. He was there to attack you.
Frank and Wanda.
What's up, Frank? Hey, Wanda. Listen, real quick. What y'all did what any comedians would do in the schoolyard, and that happens. I totally agree with you. He was bitter from the time he got on the radio. And what I don't think Cat respects is the game has now changed. It's not about, rappers don't sell CDs because you can get the music from anywhere. People blow up on the internet very fast. Very fast. And he's not respecting the game has changed. Everybody doesn't have to put in the same amount of work. Don't knock other people because they're universal comics. Let it go. Get your money. Let Wanda get hers. Let everybody else get theirs and let it go. You can't be bitter. What grown man knows how long his hair is? I have no idea. what grown men, yeah, you do Phillips Arena, but don't forget the show that you stopped because you was high and you had to give them people their money back. It was a lot of places you could have went, but you didn't. I understand that and I respect it, but he got to let that bitterness go.
It was just hurtful. I promise y'all. Like, that was my first time meeting Cat Williams. Like, we've never talked. We've never had a show together. I was excited. Again, I asked Reggie, can I drop music? He's coming. And everything just changes. It's crazy how something so was supposed to be so great ended so bad. And I do understand that, with prosperity comes prosecution. I get that. But I wanted to be in a peaceful place. And that's why I wasn't. And they was like, oh, Wanda, he said this. Why didn't you come back? I didn't want to talk to him like that. That would be like Denzel Washington coming in here and I disrespect. I got that much respect for Cat Williams. You made it. I'm happy you got all of that. But I'm just not a person to down other people. I wanted to praise Tiffany Haddish because of her success. Yeah, it may have been short-lived. A lot of us didn't know who she was. I went back to the movie theater 3 times. That's how much I enjoyed that film, bringing women together. You know what I mean? Like, that made me happy to see her move forward. I am happy for Kevin Hart. I'm happy for them. I'm not jealous and I'm not mad about nobody's climbing up the ladder. I'm happy for anybody that's doing well, even Cat Williams. I'm proud that he could sell out the Phillips Arena. You a black man doing great things. I'm happy for you. Matter of fact, Lamorris and I went to his last show, the last show he just had here. So I had no ill will. I don't know why that went to the left, and I promise you, I just felt like, I spoke with the spiritual lady on Thursday, and she said, you're getting ready to do so many big things, Wanda. And I had just gotten this deal. My boss, I was having a hard time trying to get into these homeless shelters to help these women. And as soon as I got the go on, you got it, this place called the Nicholas House want to give you all, you can do whatever you want to do. She called me and said, you get ready for spiritual warfare. You get ready because you're climbing up the ladder. You're getting ready to do God's work. Hate is going to be coming from so many places. I never expected to come right here. This is my job. This is where I work. I get on this radio every morning to talk to people, to get to jobs that they don't like. I talk to people to help them with their kids. I do things for people. I didn't want to go back and forth with this man like that. That's not cool.
How did you feel when you started seeing all the stuff online?
I'm like this, Frank. I am, and I hate to say it like this, but I'm from Miami, Florida. My heart is different. I'm a person that I've seen so many bad things in my life. It didn't bother me. Like it doesn't faze me that you feel that way about me because my father taught me how to be strong. You have integrity. You have pride. You got to be prideful. And I also thought about how they did Jesus Christ. They threw stones. They spit on him. They did all of those things, but he never stopped caring for us. And that's how I am. I'm not hurt. I'm not mad at y'all because you're upset at what took place. My family, since I've been on this radio for 25 years, you've never heard my family or me do nothing bad to nobody, to no one. And I just felt like, gosh, I never had this feeling on this radio station. Like, I never had that feeling. I just wanted peace. I wanted not to sit here and go back and forth with Cat Williams. I did not. That didn't make me feel good because I knew when I got off the air, I had to go to Nicholas' house to go speak with these women. And after all of that, I got in the car and I still went over there and I still spoke to those women. They had no idea what I just went through. And I didn't even think about all of that. So just looking at all the stuff online, I've been getting hits from hometown people I hadn't talked to in years. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing to me how something so negative could be so big. And as a people, I'm like, really, y'all? Okay, is the hate really that strong for me? And I'm okay with that because I look at how Oprah handled things. I look at how Beyonce handled things. You can't go tit for tat every time somebody says something about you. I just got to keep in mind, I know what my job is. I know what my goal is. I know what God put me on this earth to do, and it wasn't to hurt people. But I do know hurt people hurt people. Mm-hmm. So if I hurt anyone as far as my listeners or I made you feel some type of way, I have no problem with apologizing because that's who I am. I have no problem with that. But I did not expect to sit here and go back and forth with alleging such as Cat Williams. I did not.
Why do you think it went that way?
I have no idea. I have no idea. We've never had words. We've never. You know what? The last place I saw him at the car and bike show. I saw him at the car and bike show. We got on the elevator and he kind of spoke and I spoke and that was it. I don't really know him. I don't know him. So, you know, I didn't understand any of it, but I guess it wasn't for me to understand. But, you know, it's just crazy how everybody it took wings and it was negative all over the world. I'm like, really, y'all? Okay, and if that's how people feel, I can't be upset. You know, that's how people feel, and I'm not playing the victim because I did nothing but invited him here. You personally said, Wanda, go in the back and try and get him to come on. I damn near, did I not beg him to come on this radio? Mm-hmm. I begged him. He said, no, I ain't coming on. I said, please, please. I said, please, 50 times to him. Please, he didn't want to come on. So when he finally sat down and put his headphones on, I was like, okay, yay. I was excited. And I hate that it happened like this. That's not what I do, y'all. It's just not. And when I got to church Sunday, everything that happened, Dale Bronner talked about this, what happened. Just like what Kevin Hart said, when you're doing things, when you're doing great things, it's gonna come. And I didn't expect that because that's not what I put out there. That's not what I put out there. When I go to the comedy club on Saturday nights, I know I'm giving laughter to people that may not be happy with their jobs or people that are going through things. I get excited to go to the comedy club. And when he said, you know, I'm selling out Phillips Arena, you're just at Atlanta Comedy Theater, you're right. And I'm happy to be there. Each and every Saturday night, I take pride in going into that comedy club because I know I'm going to do a job. I'm going to do a job, not to insult people, not to call them the N-word. That's just not what I do. I have fun. I'm a comedian, but it's very few people that can get on there and say, oh, I came to the comedy club and Wanda Smith, you know, cursed me out or called me the N-word. Like, if I do it, it's in fun, and I'm just sorry that it ended this way. I really am.
Do you think that Cat Williams going back and forth was in fun, or do you think he did it on purpose?
I was looking in his eyes, and it was like an attack. I don't even know what that was. Like, what did I do to you? Did I say something about you? Did I don't know. When I was looking at him, I couldn't even respond because my mouth can go there. I got a little mouth on me, but the respect wouldn't let me do that. It wouldn't even let, I didn't know. And the things that I was saying, you know, they were, oh, they were weak. Yeah, because I didn't want to do it. I did not want to talk to him that way.
We're going to take a break. Our number is 404-741-WVEE. The phone lines are lighting up. People have comments. We're going to take your comments next on V103. Frank and Wanda in the morning. Take this quick break. Go to the V103 News Center, and we'll be right back. Give us a couple minutes. Frank and Wanda in the morning. It's V103, Frank and Wanda in the morning. We are discussing the incidents that went viral on Friday with Wanda Smith and Cat Williams and Frank Ski and our show. And it went more viral than we expected. We knew it was going to be good, and a lot of people were obviously pointing to what he said about Tiffany Haddish and Kevin Hart. Right. And I think a lot of people with the Tiffany Haddish and Kevin Hart comments, although they were harsh, I think people kind of was like, that's Cat Williams. Right. You know what I mean? He said messed up stuff about other people before. So it was big, but it kind of wasn't big. Right. But when you all went back and forth, that became the piece that made it big. Let's take a call. You're on V103. Frank and Wanda, hello.
Hi, Frank. I need to make this comment. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, Wanda's playing victim.
Okay.
We were either listening Friday morning or since then have seen the video. Mm-hmm. Wanda started that whole negative exchange. When she came for his hair, his clothes, Wanda is always clowning people and for fun in the name of comedy. Mm-hmm. Cat Williams clowned her in the name of fun, in the name of comedy. Mm-hmm. It's like you can give it, but you can't take it. You know, Cat Williams did what Cat Williams does, and he clowned her.
And I was okay with that. I wasn't upset, that he clowned me, which I said that's not my thing. I don't go back and forth, kind of like the wilding out thing. I don't know how to do that, the joning and that kind of thing. And I think, and if I could go back with you just a little bit, remember it all started when we started talking about the food part. And he said, "What do you cook?" And I said, he said, no, it started when I said, do you cook for your boys?
It started with the hair, when you guys went back and forth with the hair. And to me, it looked like two comedians.
Right. And he was talking about my wig. And remember, we both did it.
Right. You both did it. And it was two comedians engaged in comedic banter.
Right.
But from looking at it on air, your demeanor changed, and it looked like you took it personal and got mad.
Okay.
It shouldn't have gone as far as it did, but to me, it was funny.
Okay,
but
I got you, and I received that. I received
gun
that.
Violence, or even the threat of gun violence, that is so petty and so unnecessary. We've got to do better.
Right, and so, I know a lot of people were. It was just so many comments, and people like, well, how did you feel about, Frank sitting there? A lot of comments were that you were laughing, and, I was sitting here, and honestly, to be honest with you, Frank, like it caught me totally off guard. And after it went on for a while, I did wanted it to end. And I know you're the person that normally would cut things off. All right, man, it's time to go. It's time. And that never happened.
No, that did happen.
What you said, you did say.
I tried to go to break like 3 times.
Right.
And y'all kept going.
Right. So okay, we played the bumper. When we played the bumper, that's when we kept going over the bumper. And I agree. I put my part in. I did my part. I'm not saying that I didn't. I'm not playing the victim. I'm not saying that I didn't. But I think at some point I was expecting, all right, y'all, enough of that, because both of us were like kids. It didn't end. And I was expecting you to, as the man of the house, to stand up and stop the kids from playing. And it never happened.
I think because, honestly, truly, what happened with you and Kat is not new.
Right.
You and Sophia have done it. Other people have done it. We've had that conversation. We've gone past the bumper. We've done that before. When we're sitting in the heat of the moment and what's going on in the studio, and it was funny going back and forth, that's why I kept going. I tried to go to break a couple times. And in those exchanges, I think sometimes you would stop, and then you'd say something real quick, and then he'd come back. And then we'd stop, and then you say something real quick and come back. And that's why it didn't happen. Because to me, honestly, truly, I'm not the comedian. I'm not going to get on this radio and take the role as the comedian. That's not my job. But when I see 2 comedians going at it, that's the way I looked at it. It was funny. It was 2 comedians going back and forth. Yes, Kat got the best of it, but there have been times where you've gotten the best of it.
And
I don't cut you off, and I don't cut other people off. So I'm not about to be on the radio and be fake. Like, okay, we just gonna cut it off because, I just didn't feel that way. I thought that's what you wanted, and I think that in the end, when we had a chance to look at it afterwards, then people are making those comments like, why didn't you stop it? And I think it's people playing Monday morning quarterback, because in the heat of the moment, that's not what we do.
Well, I also felt like in the middle, what was done on the radio, the people that did hear it on the radio, it should have been left there.
Okay.
As far as the viral stuff and it going on our website, I felt like that was disrespectful to me. This is where I live.
Okay.
I'm not gonna bring somebody to my mother's house and have them to break in her house. Right. You understand? I'm just not gonna do that. So this is where I live, and I'm not gonna let nobody come in here and disrespect you.
Right.
If that would have happened, I would have stepped in, and I would have,
But understand this: I, as a person that is not a comedian, did not look at it as being disrespectful. I looked at it like 2 comedians playing the Joneses. Somebody's gonna lose. And it just so happened on that day, you lost. Right. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, like I've sat here and watched other people, and I felt sorry for other people and the things we've done to other people. Right. We've dogged out people on this show before. We've made people look stupid before. Okay. We've hurt people's feelings before.
Right, and you got to be able to take it when somebody do it to you.
But I didn't feel feel in the moment that you were hurt.
Right.
I didn't feel that way.
I did not want to go back and forth with Cat Williams.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna bring you to something. Okay. Remember, I forgot who was in here, and you were talking about the last time Jamie Foxx had his comedy weekend in Atlanta. What was it called?
Laugh-A-Palooza.
Laugh-A-Palooza. And you were having a conversation, and you were talking about how Jamie Foxx was at the bowling alley.
Oh, yeah.
Ragging everybody.
Yes.
And then somebody said a joke to Jamie Foxx that tore him down.
Okay, and I'm glad you brought that up.
And everybody, and it was like,
yeah.
But that's what happens. He was in the thing, joning on everybody.
Right. And let me explain that, and that's a good point.
That's what I remember.
So we were in Laugh-A-Palooza, and Jamie Foxx. It was several comedians there. So we had a microphone, and we were going back and forth with, they were saying mean things about one another. So they were like, Jamie Foxx is adopted. He's adopted. So a lot of people know that. The comics know that. So they were doing things like, Hope Flood, Jamie Foxx like, Hope Flood, your neck is at the front door. You need to come get it. So everybody busts out laughing. Oh, Wanda Smith, the weight loss people is at the front door. They coming to pick you up. Everybody busts out laughing. And then somebody got on the microphone and say, Jamie Foxx, your parents are at the front door. They want you now since you're rich. And everybody just paused, and it did something to him. You know what I mean? Like, I'll never forget that moment.
It was personal for him.
It was personal for him.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. But some of the people were laughing, and it was it was still ongoing laughter. But I can only imagine what that felt like in his heart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I get that, and that's a great point.
So I didn't know any better.
But so now that it went. Do you felt like you should have stopped it, or do you feel like now that it's out there and this is a negative thing?
I feel, first of all, I don't appreciate people keep saying you should have stopped it.
Right.
Because we both have the responsibility to stop it. You have just as much responsibility to say to go to break than I do. You could have looked at the producer and said, okay, cut it. And he would have cut it. But you didn't do that. Y'all kept going back and forth. So you got just as much power as I do. So I don't want people to listen to the show thinking that I got this magic button that I push. That's not the way this thing works. I didn't know. I'm watching two comedians going back and forth. That's what we did. And it was funny. And it was funny. And I think that had it gone the other way, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Right.
Had you won over Cat Williams, we wouldn't be sitting here having the conversation. So it's unfair to say I should have stopped it just because you lost. That's unfair.
Yeah. And I'm not.
And but let me just say this. Let me just say this. I never want to hurt your feelings. You are my partner, and I love you. So I never want to hurt your feelings.
Right.
So the fact that it happened and hurt your feelings, I feel bad for. But you're like, your husband shouldn't have picked up the phone and called me. Right. That was wrong. This is business. Your husband ain't got nothing to do with V103 or to pick up the phone to call me. That'd be like my wife calling you because you said something about me.
Right.
That's inappropriate. So I was hurt by that. I thought but I understood. But I understood because looking online and seeing everything that happened online was hurtful. And it wasn't just hurtful for you.
Right.
People talking about you hurts me. Because we're family. I'm not sitting there looking online laughing because I'm like looking at it like, oh, that's my partner. So I didn't like it. Now to address the whole thing about how it got out, amongst other people that were in the office, we thought you were okay with it.
Okay, but I wasn't asked. I wasn't asked.
But I played it. I played it in the office.
But you still, when we got off the air, we all went into the studio, right?
Yeah.
And we played, I'm looking at your computer, and there's a first bar, then there's a second bar, which I know that the guy in the back, the person edited. So I don't know.
I edited.
Okay, well, whoever edited it. Okay, so when we got in the office, you were playing it for the digital person. I sat in a chair and I listened to it. And so the first part played about the whole Tiffany Haddish, Kevin Hart thing or whatever. Then you played the second half. So you explained to him this is when Cat Williams and Wanda got into it. So we were all clear on it took place. So when the digital guy came back to the door, he says, I'm going to go figure out what I can put together and I'll be back. So I hung tight. We waited, whatever. So he sat and listened to the entire thing in its entirety. So when he left and came back, I don't think you were in the room. He came back and he came to the door and he said, okay, I'm going to start where Kevin Hart starts to talk, where Cat Williams started to talk about Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish, and I'll end there. And so I took it as, okay, well, that's all he's going to play. That's how I took it. It may have been a misunderstanding, but I heard that in my ears.
Yeah.
So when I saw it on, am I correct? Okay. When I saw it on YouTube,
I don't think he agrees with you.
Okay, he doesn't agree. Okay. When I saw it on YouTube and all the other stuff, I'm like, okay, I have no idea
I think the misunderstanding was what the digital department was talking about was the tease. The 1 minute tease that goes on Instagram. He was talking about where he was going to cut the tease.
Yeah, I wasn't clear with that.
But what happens in the studio, we normally play the whole thing back.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we do that. We play the whole thing back. So, for that, I think that was the misunderstanding, because I truly left here thinking we were good with it. I would never put something on the air. I mean, obviously what happened on the air happened, but I would never recirculate something that was uncomfortable. I mean, but let me say this. Let me be transparent and say this. I had to get on this radio station and talk about my bankruptcy.
Absolutely.
Now, I talked about it and talked about my divorce. After I got off the air, I felt some kind of way. But when I went on YouTube to watch it again, it hurt me. But I had to let it go because it's already there. It's already out there. So I know how it hurts when you go back and you've had time to think about it. You know what I mean? And I don't really think it's cause to, blame anybody. It was just, I did it. I took the shot. I said what I said on the air. Subsequently, digital taped it, and the interview lives online. And I've had to be okay with it. Other people, we're gonna take a quick break because there's other calls that people want to talk about. And then we'll talk about, if you want, what happened afterwards.
I do. I just want to clear a few things up. About what happened at the comedy club, so that we're clear. And it was, I just want to be clear.
Frank and Wanda in the morning, the People Station V103, the ATL's #1 for hip hop and R&B. It's 9:11. It's Frank and Wanda in the morning, discussing the viral situation with Cat Williams that happened over the weekend. Wanda, from Friday to Monday morning, it's been going crazy. But many people want to know what happened on Saturday with the reports that are coming out, and including the report that came out on SandraRose.com.
Okay, so Saturday night, which I always perform at Atlanta Comedy Theater, Red Grant was a headliner. So, I got to the comedy club to do what I do every single Saturday. So when I got there, I always have a guest list. So I had a guest list with a couple of people supposed to come. My makeup artist had some people that were supposed to come. So what happened was they asked, they were like, Wanda, you got guests? I said, yeah. So I brought the comedian on, and I went back in the green room. So one of the guys came and said, hey, Wanda, you got guests at the back door. So I left the green room and I went to the back door where we normally let our guests in. So when when they opened the door, I'm looking, I didn't see them. I saw two of the people, but I was looking for the rest of the people. So I walked outside the door. And when I walked outside of the door, I saw Cat Williams and his bodyguard walking up towards the comedy club. And so he saw me, and he made a beeline to where I was, came over and was like, I told you effing with me gonna make you go viral. And that's when my husband said,
so he stepped to you.
Yes, he came. Oh, he was walking and walked over from where he was in the street in front of the grocery store, walking down. He made a beeline turn to come over where I was and said, I told you effing with me would make you go viral. And that's when my husband said, hey, dog, man, find something else to do, dog. He was like, I jump on you. And then So the police was there. The police is always there. Security is always there all the time. The police is always there. So all the rumors that are out there, I can't move forward.
Yeah, we can't address anymore legally because of that.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break. The phone lines are open. People are calling. 741-WVEE, Frank and Wanda in the morning on the People Station V103, discussing the viral situation that happened with our interview with Cat Williams.
He was like, I'll jump on your big ass.
That's what he said?
Yep.
Talking about the viral situation that went down with Cat Williams, you're on V103.
If we know Cat Williams is who he is, then you have to put on your big boy pants and just take it. You can't expect Frank to step in and end the conversation or do something, because that's what he does. You know that's what he's about. And so I say this, you can take this one or two ways. You can take it and say, yeah, it went too far, da-da-da-da-da, whatever. Or you can say, you know what, it did go viral. So let me use this to my advantage.
V103, go right ahead.
My name is Tiffany. I just wanted to say that you invited hatred in. Cat Williams did not come in love. When he came, he did not come in love. He came with hatred, and you guys were the portal. You opened that door, and hatred came in and spread it across the nation. He never, when he started speaking, it was to boast. Love does not come boasting. And I thank you for opening this conversation and spreading the love and apologizing to that hatred spirit for even spreading it across the nation and opening that portal for the internet. So I thank you, and I just wanted to say that.
How you feel about that?
I mean, I'm listening to everybody, and I receive what everybody have to say, because that's just, it is what it is. And again, didn't want it to go that far. I just didn't. I didn't feel comfortable with it going that far. I invited him in, and she said, you invited him in, and I did. So, that's just kind of, how I feel. And again, I did apologize to my listeners, whoever I hurt. You know what I mean? If you felt like, this was wrong, then I apologize. I have no problem with that. But I do know that it felt like an agenda when he came into the radio station, period, when he got here. So I don't know. This is my first time meeting him. So I'm not playing victim. I'm just, putting out there exactly what happened. So I receive it. I'm not a jokester, like going back and forth. I don't know how to do that. So I have no problem with saying, yeah, he did it. He won. He did it. I wasn't expecting it. It threw me off. It threw me totally off. I wasn't focused on, I'm getting ready to go back and forth with Cat. That's what he do. I received that. And I receive anybody that's doing well. I know Kevin Hart responded.
Yeah.
Did we have?
Yeah, Kevin
and
Hart
Tiffany
did
Haddish responded as well.
Kevin made a quick statement. Obviously, Tiffany Haddish did respond by saying that she's famous now because Kat talked about her. And Kevin Hart responded a little bit on his social media.
When other people are choosing to frown and make an attempt to shit on my sister's bright light, I choose to turn up the knob and make that light brighter. Shouts out to my sister Tiffany Haddish, star of the movie Girls Trip. Had a phenomenal year. By phenomenal year, let me break it down to you because I love to support. I go back with Tiff. I remember the days when Tiffany Haddish was sleeping out of her car. I remember the days when Tiffany Haddish was homeless. I remember the days where Tiffany Haddish had not a dime in her pocket, worked hard, grinded, got to where she is today. And at the height of her career, when most should applaud, when most should celebrate, some choose to down. So you know what I do in this moment? I choose to not only put my baby sister up, but make you guys realize why she deserves to be up. #1 movie in Girls Trip. She starred in a movie called Night School with Me. She's on a TV show with Tracy Morgan called The Last OG. She's got a movie coming out that Tyler Perry did with her, Whoopi Goldberg, Tika Sumpter, and many more. She's got another movie coming out with Melissa McCarthy. And in return, received the Emmy on SNL. Filmed a special on Showtime, just got a deal with Netflix to go and tape another special. I see a woman as well deserving of the position that she's in, and more importantly, I see a girl that's now positioned to open up doors for this younger generation of female comedians that are coming after her.
All right.
And Tiffany Haddish was, she just didn't have a whole lot to say. She just say, you know what, I'm praying and I'm good. So it's okay. We moving forward, and it's one of those things.
All right. Well, we got 1,000 comments on our social media.
All right.
People are saying, I appreciate the transparency on the radio to clear the air. Another comment, I'm sorry, but Wanda started it.
Mm-hmm.
Your ego got hurt. You guys have been the face of Atlanta. And Frank, for you to allow this to go on as long as you did is incomprehensible. You should have known to cut the interview. A lot of tweets about support and about how Atlanta loves us.
Right.
Yeah, and that Cat Williams was very disrespectful. And those are the type of calls that we're getting on, comments we're getting online off of our post. Do you have anything to say before we close?
No. I mean, I think I've said my piece, and I just, I don't like stuff like that. I don't. I just don't. I did not want to be going back and forth with him. I did not. Not even for a moment. Just didn't. So I admitted that ain't my thing. That's not what I do. So, and when people said that I shouldn't have, I didn't say I blamed you. I just said I felt like, at some point, yeah, it should have been cut off. But yeah, you're right. I could have cut it off myself, but,
But do you understand what I mean? Like, I don't know.
You didn't know where to.
Well, I'm not the comedian, so
Right,
I just
right,
see two
right.
comedians
No,
going back and forth.
I get that. I get it. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm okay. And I'm okay.
Okay. Okay. So we're done.
Yeah, that's it. I just wish, that it could have ended a better way with Kat and I and in love and instead of all of this extra stuff going on.
You think you should reach out to him?
That's not how to, how we do things.
Right.
And, I'm a woman, he's a man, and, this is our comedy world.
What would you say to him if you had a chance to talk to him?
I think that there's a lot of hurt there, like all the things that we watched in the news. One of the callers mentioned that, he's got a lot going on. And you never know what a person is going through. You never know what a person is feeling inside. So I don't know his walk in life. Money isn't everything. Money isn't love. Money doesn't buy health. Money doesn't buy a lot of things. But if a person doesn't feel good inside, then something has to take place. I remember one time when, even when Tip was going through his whole thing, and I said, Frank, y'all should reach out to him, just talk to him right now, because in a place, I didn't want Tip to get in trouble. I didn't want nobody, to say negative things about him, because we love him. We love him. I was hurt when he got into all of that trouble, so, and then you spoke to him. I think you reached out to him, a couple of other, radio personalities reached out to him, and that's what love is fixing things and, rekindling relationships and making things work. I have no problem with that. Not at all.
Yeah.
I don't have no problem being a bigger person, because that's who God made me. I have no problem with that. I don't want to end this in this way with him, because this is our first time meeting, and this isn't a good way to meet somebody for the first time.
Yeah, I think it would be good if you reached out to him and just had a conversation, just the two of you. And I think if you tell him that you were hurt, I think he would receive that. I don't, he's got a lot going on. You're right. He came in here stressed out, and he had a lot going on. But I think he wants to be loved. Mm-hmm. I think Cat Williams wants to be loved. And I think if you reach out to him and say, hey, look, you know how to do it. Sorry about what happened, whatever, I didn't mean anything. Just sometimes extending the olive branch goes a long way with people. And I think that there's, all the way around, there are obviously people that can point the finger at everything during this whole process. But really, at the end of the day, we all just have to sit back, and this is the danger of what we do, Wanda. We do this live. We bring it to people live and direct, and sometimes things go left. It's not the first time, and it definitely won't be the last time, But I think transparency always wins in our situation. There's no other show that's going to be out here, cutting out all the music and just sitting down and having an honest conversation, which needs to be had with people. And you're right. When people are hurt people, but that means we just got to love them even more. All right, so we'll take a quick break, come right back with your inspirational vitamin. It's next, right here on the People Station, V103, the ATL's #1 for hip-hop and R&B.